Most people love mountains. Now, I can't say you like climbing them, but just looking at them and maybe going, am I wrong?
Yeah.
You like going to the mountains? You like seeing the mountains? You know, I remember Jed Clampett, when he was talking about moving to Beverly Hills from, where their cabin was, he said, I'm one, I never could stand flat land, so I want to be going to some hills. So Angela and I were up in the mountains in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago. But do you generally speak, you generally like mountains? There's something mesmerizing about those towering peaks. And as I was just a couple of seconds ago, a minute or two ago, I was there thinking, I said, well, I need to give you an example of a mountain that I've been to. And one came to mind. Angela and I went to Europe in 1999. And we went to Switzerland. Switzerland. And Lucerne. There's a mountain called Pilatus. It's named after Pontius Pilate. And we rode a cable car up it, and then a chairlift back down it. And I still got the cap. It was given to me after all, since 1999. I still wear it. In fact, I had it on yesterday. Pilatus. So that's it's the Alps. It's a big mountain. It's a big mountain. In the Bible, many major events happened on or at mountains. Actually, Moses in the burning bush, I don't think it was on the mountain, but it was at the foot of Mount Horeb. Moses talks with God and gets the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. God speaks to Israel. If you read a few chapters later in Exodus, God speaks to Israel from Mount Sinai. He even told us that you can come up close to the mountain, but don't touch it, don't start going up it. And God speaks to them from Sinai. Other mountains in the Bible you may have heard, Ararat. That's where the ark, Noah's Ark, landed. Carmel. Nebo. It's where Moses got to view the promised land from. Ebal, Paran, Pisgah. You ever go up to Asheville area, go up Blue Ridge Parkway, go to Mount Pisgah. Go to the Pisgah Inn. It's a great place to stay if you make reservations early, great restaurant. I have been up there. It's a beautiful place to go to. Gerizim, Halak, Tabor, Gilead, and Zion. In the New Testament, one of the most significant events in the New Testament, Christ was transfigured on Mount Hermon, thought to be, where he saw Moses. The disciples, 3 disciples were up there with him, and they saw Jesus transfigured and saw Elijah and Moses. And of course they got all excited. But probably the most famous sermon ever preached was preached on a mountain. And we call it, and we know it, it's commonly referred to as the Sermon on the Mount. Well, those of y'all that know my style and my love of sermon titles and how I like to play around with words, I said, Blane's got to be different. I'm not just going to say, title it the Sermon on the Mount. It's the mountain sermon. Same thing, isn't it? Jesus preached it on a mountain. So why can't you call it the mountain sermon? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Y'all allow me to do that? Okay. All right. It's a long sermon. Chapter in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. 3 chapters it covers. And it begins with the Beatitudes. Not the bad attitudes, the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes. 10 blessings. Here's some of them. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Be blessed. God is with you in your mourning. We've all been there. Blessed are the gentle, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. My goodness, Lord, let us continue to pray for peace in Ukraine. Father, we come against the demonic forces that are trying to destroy that country and those people. It's awful. It's demonic. Father, we pray for the peace of Ukraine. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed that those that have been persecuted for their faith. And 5:6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Hunger and thirst are, and I'm going to use a word that I really don't like, but it's the only thing it's one of those things that I crossed something out that I typed and I wrote it in ink. I changed it this morning because of that, but I still couldn't come up with a word. It's a human craving. You know, craving sometimes has a negative connotation. It's sort of akin to addiction. So we don't like that, but isn't it natural? When you're thirsty, what do you crave? Is that wrong? You crave water. Water. My wife says I say water. I probably do. Do we all say that? Is that the southern thing? But it's normal. You can go 3 days without water. And about 3 hours, you're going to be craving it. Food, you might go 15, 20 days. You're going to be craving it. So there are cravings for us like that. But the point in this is, are you craving God? That's what Jesus is saying. Are you craving God? Just like you hunger and thirst for food and water, you should be hungering and thirsting for God. Amen. You should have a craving that only God can satisfy. Next, he goes into the similitudes. The similitudes, I guess. It's a comparison. Comparing normally people to something we know. It said we are to be salt and light. We are to be like salt and light. What does that mean? How do you be like salt and light? I can understand the light part, but the salt part, I've heard various different sermons through the years, and you probably have to go back to the time when salt was it probably still is today, but it was a very precious commodity, having salt, because a lot of foods were cured and preserved with salt. We're to be like salt and add flavor to other people's lives. Flavor might not be a good way to describe it, but that's what I come up with, add up to other people's lives. And be a light that draws people out of the darkness of the world into the light of God. I think we understand that. We really do. Do you understand that one? The salt, again, I struggle with that just a little bit. But the light, that's what we're supposed to be. It's like when we go out and about, and I've said this before, people, there's something, what's different? What makes you tick? Why do you have that glow? I don't hear that often, but every now and then, we're to have a glow. What is that glow? Why are you that way? People, I want to be like you. I want to have that glow. What's the Spirit of God in me? Sometimes the batteries wear down and it gets dim and I don't glow as much as I should. God recharges my batteries and I'm glowing again. 5:16, let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Talk the talk and walk the walk. We got to, if you're glowing, I think if you're glowing, letting your light shine and all that stuff, you're going to probably be walking the walk. I've heard many people, talk that talk, and talk like a Christian, but they rarely act like a Christian. Now, can't say any of y'all are guilty of that. I've been guilty of it. Other famous topics in the sermon or the mountain sermon. That reverted back to mountain sermon. Mental adultery. It says if you look at, they point it toward men more, and maybe men may be more guilty than women, but if you look at another person with desire, it's the same as if you acted on it. I think we understand that. Love your enemies. Oh, we still struggle with that. I do. I mean, that's just, that's another sermon in itself. I think I preached on it before. The Lord's Prayer, it's in the mountain sermon. That's where it comes from. Gaining earthly wealth is not as important as heavenly wealth. I think we understand that. There's nothing wrong with being secure financially, making wise investments. You've got to live in retirement as best you can. But don't be obsessed. I look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, if it scrolls across, but I don't obsess about it. I don't wake up in the morning and say, what's the stock market going to do? What did it do? I don't do that. I'm glad when it's up. I'm sad when it's down. But I don't obsess over it. Don't love money, the same thing as that. Don't be anxious. Ooh, golly. Don't be anxious. How many of you struggle with that? Anxious, anxiety. I have been, and that's part, I told y'all a couple of weeks ago, I just wasn't in a good mood, and a lot of it's anxiety. And gosh, there's another sermon on that. But we struggle with it. Everybody struggles with it. And I can just preach it till I'm blue in the face, but I'm going to go home that day and be anxious. Lord, help me. Help our anxiety. Help us when we're anxious. Divorce. Do not retaliate. Keep your word. My favorite one, probably my favorite in the Sermon on the Mount is Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. That is so easy to understand. Seek and serve God first. That's your priority. That's the priority in life. I've seen a lot of people with messed up lives. Nobody in here. There you go. But when you get down to it, They are not seeking God. God is not the priority in their life. Does that mean you're not going to have any problem? No. But we have to seek God. God has to be the primary priority in our life. Then those things will be added on. Those things that, wants or needs. I think needs is probably for sure, but wants, or desire. Wants. I mean, sometimes there's things that God may want us to have, may not want us to have. We have to come to grips with that. Don't be a hypocritical judge of others. That's a common, why won't you go to church? And I ask that question periodically to people. Just like to get those that, and it's, church is a bunch of hypocrites. How many of you heard that? What's a hypocrite? A hypocrite, and Steve, I'm going to use because it just came to my mind. Not that you're a hypocrite, but Karen's not a hypocrite. So if Harry, I'll use Harry too. So if Harry gets up here and says, "Yeah, you need to quit smoking. It'll kill you," and then he goes out in front, outside the church and lights one up. That's a hypocrite.
Yep.
That's what a hypocrite is. So I don't mean that to be, you're not a hypocrite, he's not a hypocrite, Karen's not a hypocrite. Because you may have the same problem sometime. Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you.
Amen.
There you go. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened. There's nothing wrong with asking God for something. Obviously, there's nothing wrong asking God to set me free from addiction. Obviously, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to think of something else that nothing comes to mind right away. A certain kind of vehicle. I don't know, it gets all into a different area there. But ask God. Seek and you will find it. Knock and it will be open to you. Ask, seek, knock. And it will be open. And I found that to be the case many times in my own life. Can y'all amen that? Have you found it in your own personal life? The golden rule is in the Sermon on the Mount, or the Mountain Sermon. See how I keep going back? The Mountain Sermon. Treat others like you want to be treated. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. Nobody wants to be treated badly. You see that reciprocal, is that right? Yeah. We understand this. Well, why do we have a hard time with it? If you're treating somebody else badly, you wouldn't want to be treated the same way. Now, I'm guilty of that. I've done that. Haven't we all?
Yep.
A little awful quiet. So none of y'all have treated anybody not the way, haven't treated somebody badly have you failed to follow the golden rule? Let me change it.
Yes.
All right, okay.
And did you ask forgiveness?
Yes, there you go. 7, 13, and 14. Enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide, and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And many are those who enter by it. For the gate is small, and the way is narrow that leads to life. and few are those who find it. The way to heaven is narrow, and few find it. I don't think it's camouflaged. I just think people go by in a hurry and don't recognize it. It probably doesn't have a flashing neon light, but it should be obvious. But he says, hell is easy to find. In conclusion, I don't know if Jesus said those words, they're not written down, is beware of false teachers and build a strong foundation. Have a strong foundation for your faith. How? Knowing the Bible well. Good crowd in Sunday school this morning. You know, the Mountain Sermon's a practical and spiritual guide for life. Wide-ranging as we see the various topics. You could spend weeks on all those topics. It's a mini Bible, if you want to tell, how should I live my life? Read the Mountain Sermon. Good way to live your life.
Amen.
You know, if you follow the advice in it, or follow it, you'll be a better person. Don't you think? I mean, it stands to reason. You know, you don't have to be a Christian. You can live by that. I mean, when you get to that Matthew 7, 13, 14 about heaven and hell, you might wake you up a little bit. But if you just live the rest of this stuff without being a Christian, you're going to be a better person. Now, obviously, pray that somebody comes to Christ. A better person. Try it. Do you have room for improvement in your life, relationships, with other people, family, friends, all the whole thing? You see what this is, don't you? You know, praying. You need to pray more? Yeah, I do. Do I need to study the Bible more? Yeah, I do. I'm the preacher. Try it. Try to live the life that Jesus describes in the Mountain Sermon. You will be a better person for it. Amen.